You know, it really makes you wonder, what actually happens when the body's ultimate filter, the one responsible for processing literally everything you consume, gets severely clogged? Right now, we're facing a massive global health crisis. It's driven by our modern diets, our sedentary lifestyles, and it's taking a silent but absolutely devastating toll on our liver. But what if the solution to this very modern epidemic was already mapped out for us centuries ago? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating journey, bridging two entirely different worlds. We're going to explore how ancient botanical wisdom, things healers have used for hundreds of years, might actually align perfectly with cutting-edge molecular biology to reverse liver disease.
But to understand the cure, we really need to understand the crisis first.
In 2023, the medical community made a crucial shift. They changed the name from fatty liver disease to MASLD, which stands for Metabolic Dysfunction-Associated Steatotic Liver Disease. It's a mouthful, I know, but this change was huge because it recognized that liver fat isn't just an isolated issue, it's directly tied to a system-wide breakdown, and it happens on a highly progressive clinical spectrum. It starts off with simple steatosis, which basically just means fat is building up in the liver cells. No big deal, right? Well, if left unchecked, it progresses to MASH, Metabolic Dysfunction-Associated Steatotic Hepatitis. This is where things get serious. We start seeing actual cellular injury, where liver cells literally balloon up and there's serious inflammation. Finally, without intervention, this drives right into cirrhosis. That's progressive extracellular matrix deposition, which is just a fancy way of saying your healthy liver tissue is permanently replaced by irreversible scar tissue. It is a complete cascade of unmitigated metabolic dysfunction.
Now, let's pivot away from the modern labs for a second and look at traditional Indian systems of medicine, like Ayurveda.
If you look at those ancient texts, you'll find they understood and documented this exact same problem centuries ago. So modern hepatology describes MASLD as systemic metabolic dysfunction, steatohepatitis, and cellular injury. Well, Ayurveda conceptualized this exact same thing within the frameworks of Yakrit Roga, meaning liver disorders, and Roga, which means obesity or lipid disorders. They're describing the exact same physiological truth, just using a different clinical language. They saw it as a systemic imbalance, specifically a vitiation or corruption of the blood and phlegm humors that leads directly to enlargement and fatty infiltration.
And according to those ancient texts, the root cause? It all comes down to diet. They specifically point to the chronic consumption of vidahi, these are spicy, highly inflammatory foods, and abhisyandi ahara, which translates to congestive, channel-blocking foods. The end result is a condition they called Rakta Kapha Dushti, leading straight to Yakrit Roga, or fatty infiltration of the liver. Think about that for a second. When you look at our modern, ultra-processed, high-fat diets, they fit this ancient description of congestive, channel-blocking foods absolutely perfectly. Turns out ancient healers would have been just as horrified by a fast food drive-thru as your modern cardiologist is today.
So how do we clear this congestion? Let's travel up to the high Himalayas. Up there, we find a real botanical powerhouse, Picrorhiza kurroa. In Ayurvedic medicine, it's commonly known as Kutki. Now, Kutki isn't just some generic, run-of-the-mill health supplement. It contains highly active biological compounds called picroside I and picroside 2. Modern preclinical models, using zebrafish and specially fed mice, are showing us that these exact molecules act like a biological master switch. They specifically target major lipogenic transcription factors and transporters, regulating genes with names like SREP1C and CD36. Plus, they activate the NRF2 pathway, which is absolutely critical because that's what stimulates the liver's own natural antioxidant defenses. The crucial takeaway here? Kutki literally downregulates de novo lipogenesis. Okay, what does that actually mean? It means it stops the creation of fat inside the liver at the genetic level. It doesn't just treat the symptoms of a fatty liver, it actually reaches into the cells and turns off the biological switches responsible for manufacturing and storing that fat. Incredible, right? And this isn't just theory anymore. 170, that is the number of adult patients currently enrolled in a massive Phase 3, multi-center, double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial. They're testing a standardized Kutki extract, patented as Picroliv, to see exactly how it reverses liver fat. And they're not just guessing, they're measuring this using advanced MRI-PDFF imaging to look directly at the hepatic fat fraction. Modern science is literally rigorously validating this ancient Himalayan root as we speak.
But once we stop the fat creation, we still have to stop the inflammation.
This brings us to our next botanical shields,
against cellular destruction. First up is Andrographis panicula, traditionally known as Kalmegh, or the king of bitters. Its primary bioactive compounds are diterpenoid lactones, specifically one called andrographolide. This molecule has one highly specific, very important job. It targets the NF-κB transcription factor and the NLRP3 inflammasome.
Now, to fully grasp why that is so incredible, we need a quick definition. The NF-κB pathway is a critical protein complex inside your cells. Think of it as your body's primary cellular fire alarm. When your liver is stressed out by excess fat and toxins, this alarm goes off, triggering a massive release of inflammatory cytokines that literally destroy liver tissue. Kalmegh, and as we're about to see, turmeric literally go in and silence this destructive inflammation alarm. They just shut it off entirely.
Speaking of turmeric, or curcuma longa, its active complex, curcumin, is an absolute multi-targeted genius. It works in 3 distinct steps. First, it inhibits an enzyme called HMG-CoA reductase, which effectively clears fat right out of the liver cells and lowers cholesterol. Second, just like Kalmegh, it blocks that NF-κB pathway, halting the production of those damaging inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha. And third, it activates that NRF2 pathway we mentioned earlier. This is brilliant because it actually turns on the cell's repair mechanisms by upregulating downstream antioxidant enzymes to protect against further injury.
And the weight of the evidence proving turmeric's efficacy? It is absolutely massive. A comprehensive meta-analysis of 22 different preclinical studies confirmed all of these exact points. Curcumin supplementation significantly reduced serum ALT and AST. And if you know liver health, you know those are the primary markers of liver damage. It lowered total cholesterol, triglycerides, and LDL. It decreased overall liver weight and non-alcoholic fatty liver activity scores. And it successfully suppressed those systemic inflammatory cytokines. It stops the damage and it initiates the healing, all at once.
But what happens when we put it all together?
In traditional Indian medicine, true clinical power is really unlocked when these herbs are combined synergistically into complex formulations. Let's look at one of the most famous, Arogyavardhini Vati. Its oldest authentic reference comes from way back in an 11th century treatise by Vagbhata called the Rasaratna Samuchaya. It was specifically formulated to balance the tridosha and was indicated for liver disorders, dyslipidemia, and metabolic syndrome. That's right, they were formulating actual cures for metabolic syndrome almost 1,000 years ago.
And the modern clinical success of this 11th century polyherbal formulation is staggering. In a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled trial, patients who only did standard lifestyle modifications saw a 1.32% waist reduction and a 5.81% decrease in triglycerides. That's good. But the group taking Aryavardhini Vati alongside those same lifestyle changes, they achieved a 3.06% waist reduction and an absolutely incredible 18.03% decrease in serum triglycerides. The botanical formulation vastly outperformed lifestyle changes alone, yielding vastly superior metabolic outcomes. It's not even close. And this translates to real, life-changing results for actual people. Take the case of a 35-year-old male who presented with chronic fatigue, abdominal pain, and a sonographic diagnosis of grade 2 fatty liver. His starting BMI was 30.2. After just a 2-month Ayurvedic regimen featuring Arogyavardhini and standard lifestyle changes, his follow-up ultrasound showed a complete clearance of fatty tissue. His liver echo texture returned to normal, and his BMI dropped to this number, 24.7. Complete reversal in just 2 months.
So where does this leave us in the fight against this disease?
We are undeniably dealing with a global health epidemic. But understanding this transdisciplinary framework, actually bridging those ancient Ayurvedic texts with modern clinical hepatology, shows us that reversal is entirely possible. When we target the root metabolic dysfunction at the genetic and cellular level, the liver really can heal. We've seen how Kutki stops the fat creation, how Kalmegh and turmeric shut off the inflammation alarm, and how Arogyavardhini Vati harmonizes it all together. So it leaves us with this final burning question. If ancient medicine and modern hepatology are actually speaking the exact same biological language, what other traditional cures are just waiting out there to be decoded? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I'll see you next time.